Do you have a loved one that's incarcerated for excessive sentencing, wrongful conviction? Do they need parole, help with eligibility, with support, advocacy? Are you a loved one who was left behind and you don't have a clue on what to do? What are your first steps? What is JPay? What is commissary? How do you put money on their books? We're here for you to help you in those areas. Feel free to contact us at any time via our contact options being on our website, www.BendingtheBars.org, email BendingtheBars@gmail.com, or phone 804-929-0618. Please remember, we give you the best of both worlds. We have an LLC and a nonprofit. On our nonprofit side, we all know that means we're all generated by funding, donations. We are a 501c3, so it will be taxable. So we encourage you, when you visit our website, when you reach out to us, please understand we do a lot of things in the community. It's not directed just to institutional support. We have free community outreach events, one that is coming up in July, another in August, Halloween. We do it all from A to Z. So we please, we ask for your support in every way. We will highly, highly appreciate it. We'll shout you out. Let it be via social media, on our website. We just need your support so we can ensure that what we give to our individuals behind the walls, to their families, we can continue to do that in the future. We thank you. You have to understand, in order to break change, it takes power. And there's power in numbers. It's your girl, Nikki the Advocate. Welcome you back to another episode of Bending the Bars podcast. And actually our final episode for the series Bars, Bullets, and Redemption. Tonight we are honored to have Denise Holsinger herself on the show, along with another close friend of hers, Kelly Dora. Together they'll reflect on the formation of their unique friendship and the journey that they've taken throughout these years, and just some reflection from Denise on her just had parole hearing that just took place, I believe, on Wednesday. So we'll get some insight from her on that as well. I will also ask her some very uncomfortable, emotional questions, but that's something that I think the dialogue that needs to take place so it can be open transparency, right? We need to know all sides, all aspects. So this episode, please know, you're going to experience and you're going to feel some pain, some love, some remorse, and profound. I think you're going to experience and you're going to hear some personal growth on her side. So we thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you taking out the time to just sit and be with us during this time to speak to Denise Holsinger. So it's your girl, Nigga the Advocate, and we are back, and I'm honored to be joined by Miss Denise Holsinger. How are you, love?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So due to the time limitation that I know we're under, I'm going to just directly go into the important, but I will say they're going to be hard and probably emotional questions, but we're here to do it together and to ensure that our viewers get everything, all the understandings that they can in regards to you, in regards to your case, in regards to your parole efforts and things of that nature. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough.
All right. So let's start it off. First, who is Denise Holsinger then and now?
then Denise Holzinger was, I wouldn't even say a woman. I think that there are a lot of ways that I was still a childlike in my mind in some ways. In 94, I was not the woman I am now. I was a very lost person. I was a very needy person. I was a dependent person. I was a drug abuser. I drank a lot of alcohol. And I looked for love in all the wrong places, so to speak.
Right.
The person that I am today, I feel as if I'm a woman of integrity now. And I walk my talk. I just don't talk my talk. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
And so I think that the person that I am today is an honorable woman.
Nice. All right. So this week you went up for parole.
Yes.
So give us a little insight on how that made you feel, some feedback on what happened. Just give us some thoughts on that process.
Okay. Usually it's a much longer process, but this time it was very quick. Like the first few times that you go up for parole, they'll ask you very specific details about your crime and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just, once you've proven that you're not lying, I guess, about things.
Right.
That you're consistent in what you're saying. Sorry, I had to drink a drink of water.
No, you're fine.
You're consistent in what you're saying, that they move on to other things. This time, the lady I saw, it was very quick. I've seen her before. We didn't have much to go over. She wanted to know what I had accomplished this year, and I let her know that I was now a mentor in PFA, and I had finished Beyond Violence, and that I was getting ready to start my 6th class of victim impact. And then she told me that I had, the last couple of years, been considered for early release, but it was victim input that was holding me back.
Okay. Yeah.
But to know that I was consistent and being considered does it does give me hope.
Right. Absolutely. And as it should, because it allows you to get confirmation of what we've already said, right? We knew that you had checked off every box, but it was like we weren't sure if the board actually saw what we saw, right? So being told that, it did. It gave us that confirmation. Yes, they do see your accomplishments, but we do understand the opposition, right? And we do understand that hurdle, most definitely. So, like I expressed to you, that is something that we really have to work on, and really think of, some constructive ways to work on that aspect, right? It's gonna be tough, and it's gonna be hard, but it's something that's needed. And I ultimately think that it's really needed on both sides, right?
I think so too. Yes, I do.
Yep. Okay. So I know this is gonna be a little difficult, right? But it is necessary to address, because again, if we're looking for support, we have to be transparent, right?
Right.
So in your own words, just try to take us through that time, that incident, of when this horrific situation took place. Of course, refraining from using any victims' names.
Okay. So I guess the best place would be I guess June 6th. I'm sorry.
Okay.
June 6th would probably be the best place to start. let's go back towards the end of May. I don't recall the exact date.
That's fine.
But I had been involved with my co-defendant, Mr. Claggett, for a couple of months by that point, and he didn't work. He didn't do anything. And looking back, there's so many red flags, but back then I didn't even know what a red flag was.
Right.
So I was drinking. I was taking a lot of Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine. It's like Valium but stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And combining them, and I was working at the Wish Duck Inn as a bartender, and I'm not supposed to say that. Are you going to edit?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I started dipping into the till at night to support us because we were basically staying in those weekly motel rooms.
Gotcha.
Down on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so on June 6th, and I remember this because of what happened later on that day, but we've been out drinking all night. I had been snorting cocaine. We ran out of money, and he got angry, and I come to find out later that he was not just snorting cocaine, he was smoking crack. I did not know that at the time. And he got very angry, and he hit me, and I left him at a bar.
Right.
So on the way home, I was just, I guess, despondent at that point, and I just wanted to just disappear. I walked into the Chesapeake Bay, and then I got scared because it just scared me. Drowning scared me.
Mm-hmm.
And about 3 weeks before that, I had OD'd and told them it was accidental, but ended up in the hospital with that. And so I ended up going home. We were living, my ex-husband, we were still married at that point, but we were separated.
Uh-huh.
My children and my mother all lived on base. And so I went back to the place, to our townhouse. And it ended up, I was coming down, and, so Randy had planned a birthday party for my middle daughter. That's how I remember the date. Her birthday's the 1st of June, but he had it set up for that weekend, and he wanted me to stay upstairs, and, it was like I was the dirty secret or something. It was just not. So, fast forward until to June 30th. I had been staying, I'd been home and, with my mom and my kids, and I decided that it was Michael's birthday, so I was going to use that as an excuse to go over and get my overnight bag, which was there. And it's so stupid now, all because I wanted to get the blow dryer and bring it home before Randy realized that it was, gone.
Right.
And so my mom, she was like, she asked me not to go. And now looking back, it's like, always listen to your mama. She knows.
Yep.
And she must have known something that day. And then she was like, well, take one of the kids, because she knew that if I had one of my kids with me, nothing would happen, because I didn't mix those two worlds. And, no, I got this. I'm just going to go over and take you my car and get the bag. Come on back. So as I started to drive over there, I didn't really want to go by myself, so I stopped and picked up a friend that I knew, and I took her with me, and we went over to the townhouse that Mike had been staying at, and when I got there, he asked me if I would take him to shop he had gotten some of his stuff supposedly that had been staying at this woman's house he was with before me. But come to find out, it was stuff that he stole from the guy that lived in that place. But he wasn't there at the time because he was in the Navy also, this man. And so I said, okay, so it was some speakers, and he had a gun. And I made him unload the gun because I was not going to have a loaded gun in my car. And we went to the pawn shop. He pawned the speakers, but then he changed his mind about the gun because he was afraid it would have been, maybe it was stolen or something.
Yeah.
So then he wanted to know if we wanted to go out drinking on him, celebrate his birthday. And so, I looked at my friend, and we were like, okay. And so we went and picked up her boyfriend, and we spent the day just drinking, and I was, popping pills the entire day. And my mouth is dry. He had mentioned a couple of times about I had this dream, blah, 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 I was gonna, and I was, whatever, And we just all continued to drink and party and play pool and stuff. Well, at the end of the night, we were on our way back to the apartment, and he went into detail about his dream, about how he had a dream about robbing the witch robbing the bar, and then we were going to get the money, and he would take off, is what he said. He said, but since we could take off, we could go out of state. And I'm like, whatever. So we get back to the apartment that he's staying at, and I remember I was sitting on the couch, and it just felt, I don't even know how to explain it. It didn't feel real. I understand now it's a combination of the alcohol and the viscose that it was just very surreal. It was like a dream scene. And he took the gun and he loaded it, but he only loaded it with one bullet, and he was, I guess they call it Russian roulette. He was playing that against my head. And he did that a couple of times, and I let him. I didn't want him to, but I let him. And then I got up. I was like, I've got to go to the bathroom. And I come back, and he was like, let's rob the bar. And I'm like, whatever. And he said, no, seriously. I said, how are we going to do that? They know. Know us. And it was, he said, I want you to go in there, and, you go find out who's in there. Okay. So still not seeming real. Nothing seems real. I go, both of us go up to the bar because it's right there, right next to where he was staying. Probably not even a football field away. It was right there. And so I went in, and I came back out, and I said, so-and-so, and, is in there, and da-da-da-da. And he said, just go back in there. And I was like, whatever. So I went in there, and the next thing I knew, he was in front of me across the bar. And I remember he was yelling and screaming at everybody to get down on the floor, just get down. And I went to tell one of the guys, the guy that was next to me, who had been a customer, just get on the floor. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And a shot went off behind me. And that was when he killed the first person. So it's like everything just, it was like the pit of hell had opened up. It just, the noise, sound. It was like it was crazy. And he's yelling, and he comes around, and I remember he came around the bar, and I put my hands up, and like, what? And he was like, get the money, and so I went and I got the money, and then I was going out the back door when 3 more shots rung out, and
I know that was really tough to to speak on, but again, it's very imperative and important for individuals to hear, right? Just so, again, for the sake of transparency and for the sake of fairness, right? Because we're not here to try to diminish the severity of this horrific crime at all, right? It is horrific. It most definitely is.
yes.
So, but I do thank you for allowing us to be, for allowing us into that transparent moment with you, right? So
I think that it's important to be, even in here, I try to be very transparent. A lot of people
absolutely
come in and they lie about, and I've tried to own everything, and I just want people to know how quickly life can turn on a dime.
Absolutely. Yep. So outside of the horrific effects of that night, right, on their families. All right. So outside of the horrific effects that night, of course, had on the family members of the 4 victims, right?
Yeah.
I would like for you to explain how that dynamic has affected your family life, right? With your kids, your parents, siblings, ex-husband. How has that affected those things?
Oh, boy. Well, my oldest daughter, my children were 8, 7, and 4 the night of the crime. And my oldest daughter found out what had happened because she was at school, and a little boy brought a newspaper to school and showed her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And my ex-husband was still in the military at the time, and they offered him a hardship transfer, and he didn't take it. So they stayed there. My mom, who was living there at the house at the time, she had put her life on hold and was taking care of my kids because he was still, active duty. It affected them in so many ways. I remember my mom telling me I was still in jail at the time, and my son, who he was 5 by then, a neighbor had brought him to the house. He had climbed out the window or went out the back door or something, and he was going to hitchhike to come see me. Now, how he even knew about hitchhiking, I don't know.
Aww.
But he was coming to see me. And my mom was just, I love my mother dearly. She was very much a queen of denial. If we don't talk about things, they don't exist.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so she didn't even tell my brother. My brother is 6 months. It was 6 months after what happened that he had found out. And thank goodness he did, because he saw me on TV not too long after that.
Yeah, I remember when we did the interview, that's exactly what he said. He said that 6 months exactly after she had, explained to him what had happened, he actually saw it on the news. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember my cousin, who's passed now, get a hold of me, and Randy kept telling her that I was out shopping. And finally she was like, I know that she is still not out shopping all these months later. Where the hell is my cousin?
Yeah.
And I think her language is a little bit more colorful than hell. And so that's how my family found out. Now, since then, my mom put her life on hold to take care of my kids. My kids were made to stay in the Virginia Beach area and deal with it. My oldest now, she has cut both me and her father out of her life.
Okay.
Me because she feels as if I deserted her and I chose the life I was living at that time instead of being with them. And I understand completely how she feels.
Absolutely.
I never tried to push it or anything. In my mind, I thought I was doing the right thing because they were safe.
Right.
Leaving them, on base and stuff. And I have a relationship with my middle daughter, and my son, we don't have a relationship either, but that has to do with his, the woman, I don't even know if they're married yet, but she's the mother of two of my grandchildren.
Okay.
And my ex-husband's still very bitter and angry. And I have written, I wrote to him twice, I think it was, amends letters. And he waited a couple of years after the last one, and then I got a letter back, and it was just horrible. He said he was going to do everything he could to turn my daughter against me. He was just still very bitter and very angry.
Right. And I mean, to an extent, we can all understand that, right? That was a very traumatic moment for all parties. And, to have that anger still linger to this day, I do. I think we can all relate to that. I will say, though, that, the goal of BendingtheBars and our advocacy and how we support both sides, the ultimate goal is to try to start that healing, though, right? We have to start the healing. If we have any sort of or type of faith or belief, we all know the first thing is forgiving, right? We don't and we will never forget. And I get that.
Right.
But we, I do think that we owe everyone in this whole situation just at least a moment of dialogue, and you can be angry in the dialogue, right? Like that's understandable. But I do think dialogue and communication is key, because once something remains bottled inside of you, it just festers, right? And it's no resolution. Right. It's no resolution, right? And when I say that, again, it does not mean if you guys dialogue that when the dialogue is done, then everything is just forgiven and everything's great. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is a beginning. That's a beginning. And it will probably be a beginning of multiple conversations if it ever results in healing, or it may actually result in just that one conversation, right? It may not resolve anything. But, I'm a firm believer of dialogue. So, again, that's just something that we will most definitely work with you and you know, hopefully be able to check that box as well.
Yes.
So just to touch on, how do you feel Denise has developed within these 30 days of imprisonment? I mean 30
30
years, I'm
years.
sorry. Yeah, I was about to
It's
say. Now
okay.
I had to switch that up really fast, right? 30 years.
Yeah. Um, how do I think I've developed? I think that I'm a firm believer in knowledge is power. And I always wanted to go to school, and I never had an opportunity, and I've had the opportunity to utilize this time
Right.
to further my education. And a lot of therapy and a lot of classes and a lot of mental health classes, and I think that I think I've utilized my time in a very positive way.
Right. Yeah.
I try really hard to do for others, and here I'm like, I can't make amends for what happened, but I can continue to be a living amends and just not harm, not cause anybody any harm anymore.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
My very best, at least.
Exactly.
And so that's what I spend my day doing. I work with the mental health women, and I work with the broken of the broken.
Right. Right. And I think that's, that's something to be said, because of course you are a part of that community as well, right? The broken of the broken. So
Exactly.
So that's something to be said as well. So in final, another emotional moment though, but what I would like for you to do is take the time out in your closing to give your statement, your feeling, your emotions towards the victims' families. What would you personally say, of course, still, not disclosing the names, but what would you personally say to those individuals?
I think the first thing I would say is that I want to offer my deepest and remorse is not a big enough word. It just I've tried to find a word,
Right.
and there's no such thing.
I understand.
I'm sorry. I've tried for so long to figure out how I could go back in time and just change everything.
Right.
And I can't.
Right. Right. Okay. And
And they were innocent. They did not deserve to die. They should have never have died. It should have never happened.
Right.
And I carry the pain and the hurt with me every day. And I will continue the rest of my life. But
Yeah.
I do want people I would like for them to understand that the unforgiveness in their heart is not for me, the need to forgive. It's for them, because that is so hard to carry that bitterness and that anger and that hurt and that pain around on the person who's carrying it around.
Right. Absolutely.
I just want to open that door too, that if there's anything they feel they need to say to me, my ears are open.
Right.
And even if it's to out for all they're worth or whatever it is.
Right.
I can handle it.
Right.
And I'm willing to listen and to take it.
Absolutely.
And
I most definitely agree, and that's exactly, you know, what my sentiments were when we did the first episode, right? You know, that's why I opened the door and I gave that invitation, because, you know, just piggybacking off of what I just previously said about the dialogue, right? It's an open door, just a first step to healing. It does not have to be too, you know, forgiving or forgetting, but it is the step for healing, right? And it does not have to be pleasant, because we understand that. I most definitely understand that. We're talking about losses, significant losses. But, you know, again, you know, I will most definitely plea for anyone who, you know, who has the opportunity to see these podcasts that may know those individuals, and, you know that it is genuinely asking for the dialogue, right? And for me to be a liaison, it does not, again, they do not have to speak to you, right?
Right.
It's just the dialogue. So again, I cannot thank you enough for taking this time out, you know, being transparent. I know it's a very painful and you know, awful place to be, but, you know, we do have to remember that the victims' families, you know, they live this painful moment every day, right?
Yes.
Let it be 30 years down the road or not. They do. They live that every day.
Yes.
So, you know, it's only fair for us to take that journey today, and to let people understand and know that the pain most definitely is on both sides in different situations in different ways, but it does exist, right? And we just have to work together to try to find or to bridge that gap, to find some type of healing. So I appreciate you. I do want to let you know that once our call ends, we are actually going to call Kelly. So I will let you know later on, you know, how that goes. But yeah, we'll be interviewing Kelly. And, you know, again, I appreciate you. I say, you know, keep your head up, stay in prayer. I tell you that all the time. You know, pray for yourself, pray for your family. Most definitely pray for the families of the victims. And just pray for anyone else who has ever experienced what you or they have, right? It's awful places to be. It's painful places to be. So I thank you, and I will be talking to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Nicole, have a good night. Okay?
Oh, you do the same. So we hope so far we've surpassed your expectation of this series, but we're not done yet. We're about to speak to Kelly. She is a long-term friend of Denise Holsinger, someone who personally spent days with her during her own time in DOC. She was actually a juvenile offender as well, given life, but also receiving a pardon. So you will be able to hear the dynamics of their relationship, but also hear her testimony at the same time. So if you're feeling the BTB podcast, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. So I'm excited to be joined with Miss Kelly Darr, and I hope I'm saying that last name right. If not, charge it to my mind, not to my heart. I have the pleasure of actively being on an advocacy board with Kelly currently. So through our interactions, I have grown to love her spirit, her testimony, her personality. I can contest to her spirit because out of everyone that I have come into contact with, one thing that I can tell you that she shows is continuous support to BTB. I'm sorry, it's just my organization. How would I know how to say it, you know? So, you know, I want to thank you for that. But I want to welcome you, love. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, no problem. So tonight we are going to hopefully address two major things, right? One, the development of your relationship with Denise, how that has affected, you know, your world, your life inside and out. And to also give us a little inside scoop testimony of actually who Kelly is, right?
Okay.
So if we're good with that, we're going to start off with just that. Okay. Who is Kelly Dorr?
I am, the only way I can put it is I am a walking, talking miracle. I am 48 years old. I was released a little over a year ago on parole in Virginia as a woman, which never happens.
Correct.
Let me see, I'm a loving sister, a loving daughter. I'm here every day with my parents, helping them out, taking care of them. I don't even know what else to say. I'm just so happy for this opportunity to be released because I was originally sentenced to life without parole, and then laws changed and I was able to make parole. So I'm grateful. I'm happy. I'm over the moon, excited about where my life is going to take me next.
Absolutely. And I'm just assuming that when you say laws have changed, that had to do with the juvenile bill?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, it was the bill that was passed into law in 2020 that allowed juveniles to apply for parole after serving 20 years. And I had already served 25. Okay. So I immediately came up for parole. Didn't make it the first time, but it took me 3 tries, and then they granted me parole.
Hey, that is amazing. So I will add on to your story just a little bit because I see you're humble. And I will say you're doing amazing things, right? Don't leave that out. Yeah, you're doing amazing things in this advocacy world. And again, you're humble. Your heart is genuine. And I just motivate you and encourage you to continue on in the same path that you're going. You're destined for greatness.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. So now let's get to the nitty gritty.
Okay.
How did you meet Denise?
I was in Virginia Beach jail with Denise in 1995. That was the first time that we met. I was a kid. I was 18 years old. I had just been arrested months prior. Had turned 18 while in jail, and they put me into general population because back then they didn't have they didn't have juvenile females that were being locked up. So when I turned 18, they put me into general population, and I went into the pod with Denise. And we just kind of like hit it off. She was like a mother figure to me. She was, you know, just sweet and kind and amazing. And this was 1995 when, you know, everything had just happened for both of us. And, you know, you can go back and pull news articles and see whatever it was that we were in jail for. Right. And so I know that she was being portrayed as a monster because I can remember very clearly when it happened. I lived in Virginia Beach, but to meet her and to actually get to know her, she was just immediately, when we first met, she was the sweetest, kindest, most gentlest woman. And in a situation when you're 18 years old and you're scared to death and you don't have your family, having somebody that you can feel, she kind of stepped up into that mother role to what I was lacking. Because my mother was not in jail with me, and it was a comfort being close to her, and our friendship just kind of grew from there.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh, thanks.
So during that time of you
Mm-hmm.
knowing Denise, because I would like for you to touch on too, just giving the audience the time span that you have like maybe directly been around Denise, and just you guys interacting. But during that time span, what specific development, rehabilitation changes have you seen or witnessed in Denise?
Oh man, she's grown so much. What I have seen within Denise is there is a side of her that you wouldn't expect, a side where she is completely selfless, where she has, let me see, she's developed, and like I said, that it was already there when we were in jail together, that motherly instinct within her. But it has grown to include, like, not just the wounded bird sitting in the corner, which is probably what I reminded her of, but like to include everybody around her. So I have spent the majority of the 30 years that I spent the majority of those in the same pod as Denise. We just grew closer, and as I grew older, we grew closer as friends.
Gotcha.
So she was, so it became more of a friendship and less of like a mother-daughter thing.
Right.
So she would put everything to the side for people to help them. She would sit down with people, and she does like crafts. I'm not really sure if she still does, but I do clearly remember at one point in time, she would be sitting down making cards and crafts, and she would make them for people and show people how to do them. And she was just she's so caring and so nurturing. When I was there with her right before I left, she was working with the girls that have mental health issues, working with them, getting them out to get them exercise and watching movies with them, because in there, the girls with the biggest mental health issues don't get a lot of human interaction with people. So seeing her work with them and have them laugh and engage was just great to see her in that role. She's very good at it.
Yeah, and crazy thing is she's still doing it to this day.
I'm so glad to hear that, because those girls loved her back there.
Yeah, we just interviewed her as well. We just spoke to her, and she mentioned that. So she most definitely is still doing that in the inside. And I think you've touched on this a little bit, well, a lot actually. But if it's anything else you can add to it, I just had it down to ask you how did she affect your life throughout your incarceration? So I do know, you spoke on the motherly aspect, and then, the friendship, but is it anything that sticks out to you, like a moment that you were like, this is forever etched into my mind or into my heart about Denise?
So I'm a breast cancer survivor. It's been almost 7 years now since my diagnosis. And when I was going through chemotherapy, my hair fell out, and there was like 10 people in the entire institution that just, in solidarity with me and support of me, cut all their hair off. And Denise was one of them.
Oh my goodness.
She cut it all off. And I mean, she wasn't completely bald, but she cut her hair all the way off. And anybody that knows anything about redheads, like, we love our hair. And she was just like, no, I want to show you my support. When I was sick, she was there. She would hug me. She would just be like, hold me when I was crying or scared, or she was so supportive. But that moment where she sat down in that chair and was like, no, take it off, and took all of her hair off, like, that was very touching for me, because as a woman, I'm sure you understand that, like, hair is your pride. It's your glory. It's, it's the thing that people remember about you, really. And when I lost mine, and she stood in solidarity with me for that, like, that was just, it was very touching. It was very, very touching for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. An amazing story. And I did not mention that. I was hoping that you would. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Because I'm like, you can't leave that part out, because you are a soldier for sure. So in final, what would you like to say to Denise?
I would like her to know that I am proud of her. I'm proud of her for the woman that she has become. I didn't even touch on the fact that, like, she had regained contact with her kids throughout this incarceration, with her daughter in particular, and to watch the pride in her when she found out that she was a grandmother, and just I'm so proud of her for the woman that she is. She is amazing. She is fully embraced, like, herself. And I miss her, and I hope that there's someday that me and her can just maybe go sit on the beach and watch the sunrise together.
Sounds good. Well, we thank you so much, Love Bug, for taking the time out of your night to chat with us, to give us this insight, to allow us into your world for a bit as well, right? For that transparent moment. I most definitely appreciate your insight and everything that you do in this advocacy world.
Thank you.
I look forward to continue to work with you and on multiple, projects and things of that nature. And I just thank you from the top, the bottom, and the side of my heart for taking this time out. And I know Denise does the same.
Absolutely. I'm sure she does.
I
just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. I really hope that, it helps her in some way, shape, or form. But I appreciate you fighting for her because she doesn't need to be there anymore. She absolutely does not need to be there anymore. She's fully, accepted what she's done and grown from it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. Thank you, love. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So we hope that you have enjoyed this series so far. I also hope that it has been unbiased, informative, respectful, and intriguing. We now would we would like to invite your input, right? You've taken the time to listen to everything, to get the good, the bad, the indifferent. So now it's time for you to provide feedback, right? We generally want to know, if you were sitting on the parole board, would you grant or not grant Denise Holsinger parole? Always remember the key factors. We have 4 innocent victims. We have, of course, family members that have huge opposition to this release. But we also have an individual who has done above and beyond what is required while being in DOC to be eligible for release. So again, we ask you to comment. I would like for you to comment 1, your zip code, and then 2, grant or not grant for Denise Holsinger.